Peace, 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 and blessings. All. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is the Eco Beloved live and direct. Doing a live recording and a recording for later. An update for tropical storm or hurricane. Hurricane Isaias. Hurricane Isaias has made landfall, and I want to provide the latest information, latest guidance, forecast for you all as an update as you head out tomorrow or today, whatever portion of the day that you view this broadcast. So I will share my screen and we'll get right into it. Okay, here. Share the screen here. Here we go. So the latest guidance in terms of Hurricane Isaias has made landfall just off the coast of North Carolina, in and around Wilmington, around Raleigh, and around this area here. As of 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday, August 3rd, maximum sustained winds was 75 miles per hour. Maximum sustained winds was 85 miles per hour, Minimum central pressure 988 millibars and moving northeast at 22 miles per hour. Again, just an hour, this is about an hour ago, Hurricane Isaias made landfall again in just off the coast of North Carolina. Let us talk about the watches and warnings that's up and down the East Coast, because this system will have will pack its punch up and down the East Coast. So we're not over by a long shot. North Carolina and this region here into the Virginia, into the tidewater of Virginia will get clobbered with, again, heavy rain. We're talking about heavy rain, wind, already over about 150,000 people in and around the mainly the eastern portion of the state of North Carolina has lost power over about 150,000 customers, and we expect that number to unfortunately rise as we persist overnight and going into tomorrow, going all the way up down the I-95 corridor. This storm system is an I-95 corridor threat for a lot of the major hubs. We're going to talk about a lot of major hubs being affected: Philadelphia, New York City, all the way up the coast of I-95 into the New England region. So let's take one thing at a time here and look over the key watches and warnings for the system and its impacts that it will have for the region. And the eventual track as well is also important as well. So let us look at the warning areas here. 1 second. Here we go. Warnings in the cone. This is the track. We're going to discuss now the track and the warnings area. So again, it's 11 p.m. where the X marks the spot in center of circulation. As you see there, Hurricane Isaias has made landfall in North Carolina and is expected to steadily weaken into a tropical storm overnight tonight going into tomorrow as it moves up the eastern seaboard again, paralleling the coast of I-95 and then eventually up into New England as we head into late Tuesday into Wednesday morning, and really picking up speed, as you see here in the track. By Wednesday morning is already expected to be in the Canadian Maritime, in Canada, across the United States border into Canada, and eventually becoming a weaker system in nature, a tropical depression, if that, probably becoming extra tropical at that point. Tropical storm warnings are up in the blue shaded areas for pretty much all of the Outer Banks of North Carolina into the tidewater of Virginia, all the way up to the Delmarva Peninsula, all over Delaware, all of coastal New Jersey, all into Long Island, Long Island Sound, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Nantucket, Cape Cod, all the way up Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and then all the way up the Maine coast. Again, for tropical storm warnings, basically mean, in a nutshell, that we will be experiencing, these areas will be experiencing tropical storm-like impacts. That's winds gusting from anywhere between 39 miles per hour to up to 70 miles per hour wind gusts in these areas, and also feeling the impacts from the other impacts of the storm as far as rain and any high tide surf with the wave action that we will be seeing along the I-95 corridor, along the beaches of the I-95 corridor. So that is the track. Again, hurricane warnings are up for the southern portion of the state of North Carolina and the northern portion of South Carolina as well, overnight tonight, as the storm system has again made landfall in that area, showing the impacts of the system as we speak, which has made landfall as a minimum Category 1 hurricane, without a doubt. Next, let's discuss what deeper these impacts will have to the I-95 region, and let us discuss now the rain threat that we will be seeing from storm Hurricane Isaias. Again, this is probably again from the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, showing 1 to 3 day rainfall forecast. Obviously, is much more, and we'll put up those graphics as well. But anywhere we're talking about several inches of rain easily. We're talking about in the deeper yellows, at least up to 4 inches. You see patches of little orange here in this portion of Virginia. That's at least 6 inches of rain. And arguably, most of these areas will release from the coast and inland, at least will receive at least 2 to 4 inches of rain, if not pockets of a little bit more than that. You know what I'm saying? In when you get in these heavy rain bands that will be coming, especially if you're on the northern side of the storm system circulation, you'll get into some of those heavy rain bands, which will have heavy rainfall rates, which has to be taken into consideration. That we will see quickly in terms of ponding of the roadways. Quickly, the flash flood threat is a risk in a lot of these areas, a major concern, and also eventually power outages as well, due to the wind and the uprooting of trees due to the saturated soils in most of these areas from recent rain events have also saturated the soils. So any additional rainfall will just saturate it more, and eventually the wind comes, and then that's how trees become weakened in terms of their structure. So we also could see some trees to be uprooted in these areas, which could eventually lead to power outages because trees and limbs of trees fall on power lines and cut power to areas and etc. So that's something to keep in mind as well. So let me also pull up the since we talk about the flash flood threat here. Flash flooding is a threat, as you see here, for a lot. This is the 3 day time period. So we're talking today and into Wednesday, and then perhaps into Thursday, but mainly Wednesday. I want to point out the majority of the coastline that which the Hurricane Isaias will track up parallel against the I-95 corridor. So again, if you eastern portion of North Carolina, all the way up to the Tidewater, the Hamptons, and Hampton and Norfolk, and in and around this area of Richmond and up to Delaware, up to Pennsylvania, up to Jersey, and eventually up into southern New York State, and getting into southern portion of New Hampshire and then the western portion of Massachusetts. 20% moderate risk, meaning that we will see there is a strong risk that we will see flash flooding in and around these areas, but definitely even in the yellow areas, which is only a 10% slight risk. I mean, you can't rule out even in these areas, New York City and in central southern New Jersey, and the rest of the state of Virginia, the rest of the state of North Carolina, all up to PA, central, eastern, again, the central, but more so eastern portion of the state, eastern portion of New York State, getting into New Hampshire, Vermont. Can't rule out in Connecticut, can't rule out Massachusetts, cannot rule out, again, the risk of flash flooding, because, again, we will see a lot of ponding on the roadways from these heavy bands of rain. If you're getting caught in these heavy bands of rain, the rainfall rates will be serious and accumulate fast, real fast. And that will eventually lead to some flash flooding in low-lying areas, especially as well, under bridges, under certain underpasses, and also in neighborhoods where, again, we have the poor sewage problem, poor drainage, poor sewage problem. We could see eventually backups in those areas as well, in those communities that have that poor infrastructure in place. Next, we want to talk about also the key messaging here. We'll talk about some key messaging for the Hurricane Isaias. Number one, this is again for the National Hurricane Center. There is the danger of life-threatening storm surge inundation along parts of the median coastline and adjacent waterways of northeastern South Carolina and the North Carolina coast, including portions of Pamlico and Albemarle Sounds. Residents in the area should follow advice given by local emergency officials. Hurricane conditions are spreading into the southern portion of the hurricane warning and should spread northward through tonight and early tomorrow morning. Isaias is expected to bring widespread sustained tropical storm force winds and wind gusts to hurricane force to the Mid-Atlantic coast, including portions of the Chesapeake Bay region later tonight and on Tuesday, which should cause tree damage and power outages. Tropical storm conditions are expected to spread across New England late Tuesday into early Wednesday, and heavy rainfall on the East Coast and the path of Isaias, which will result in flash and urban flooding, some of which may be significant in the Eastern Carolinas, Mid-Atlantic, and Northeast through Wednesday. And widespread minor to moderate river flooding is possible across portions of Carolinas and the Mid-Atlantic. Quick responding rivers in the Northeast will also be susceptible to minor river flooding. Okay, again, key messaging here. Tropical storm force winds, probability chart, which is on the top right of the screen here. Let me see if we can get a better picture here. Well, arrival time of winds, tropical storm force winds will arrive, generally speaking, as the storm moves quickly and picks up that speed. Again, there's a center of circulation now. By Tuesday tonight, 2 a.m., we're experiencing all the Outer Banks getting into the tropical storm force winds. Then overnight into post-dawn, post-sunrise, we're looking at the tropical storm force winds getting into the Tidewater, Virginia, and all the way up to eventually Delmarva area, Maryland, D.C., Delaware, around 8 a.m. And then as we progress throughout the morning, getting into the afternoon, tropical storm force winds will get into the state of New Jersey, eastern PA, and then eventually up into New York City, Long Island, and then eventually into Connecticut and Massachusetts. And then eventually storm winds will arrive eventually into New England later Tuesday evening. Let's do wind speed probabilities. And again, tropical storm force winds, tropical storm force wind speed probabilities. Again, this is the chart that was small in the key messaging area that we just spoke of. Again, the dark pink means a 90% chance that we will see tropical storm force winds. Again, eastern North Carolina, Outer Banks. Again, the Tidewater, Virginia, all the way up to Delmarva Peninsula, Delaware, and then all the way up to the state of southern New Jersey, getting to central New Jersey, creeping into New York City as well. But even even that, even the darker red and orange is when we're talking about a 70 to 90% chance of tropical storm force winds being felt into Philadelphia, into Newark, into New York City, and into Hartford, New Haven, Connecticut as well. These are major hubs, and into Dover, and into those areas here in Delaware, and even getting to some portions of Maryland and around the Baltimore and DC area could possibly also see tropical storm force winds at some portion today, as a storm system, Hurricane Isaias moves up the eastern seaboard, paralleling the Interstate 95, which is a highly used roadway and highway in this country, with a lot of interstate traffic, a lot of interstate trafficking in terms of commerce. So this would definitely have direct impacts, even though we are in COVID, and that has had its direct impacts on health and also on the economic side as well. So people are less traveling now, but you still have truckers out. You still have truckers driving these big four-wheel trucks. That can be easily toppled over with these type of winds as well. You got to keep that in mind as well when traveling along Interstate 95 as well. Due to the system here. Also, let's talk about storm surge real quick. So let's talk about that. Peak storm surge forecast graphic. Again, the worst of the storm surge mainly will be in around the northern portion of South Carolina to Cape Fear, and then all the way up into again, like I said, the Outer Banks of North Carolina and the border of the Chesapeake, the border of the Hampton Tidewater up into the Chesapeake. We're talking easily here in Outer Banks 3 to 5 feet of storm surge, and also 3 to 5 feet at least in the southern North Carolina and the northern portion of the state of South Carolina. More so 1 to 3 feet as he heads up the Chesapeake and the Potomac, and then the Delaware Bay, and then also getting up to Long Sound and the Martha's Vineyard, or the Vineyard Sound, at least 1 to 3 feet of storm surge. But mainly with the hurricane making landfall, we see more of a storm surge threat, especially along the Outer Banks and along the border between South Carolina and North Carolina as well. So we cover storm surge. Let us also speak to, I want to also speak to the possibilities that we could also be seeing. Power outages are extremely likely in this event. Before we get there, let's see if I can give you guys a look quickly on the satellite view imagery with our good friends from Tropical Tidbits, who provide his open source website to provide, again, a lot of these radars and imagery forecasting tools. So we're going to go into some imagery of what Hurricane Isaias looks like currently now. And if I can get there, a lot of this information is kind of old. Let me see here. Let me go back and look for imagery on the Hurricane Center imagery. Okay, let's see here. That's that. One second. Flash flooding. Satellite imagery. We're going to go to the satellite imagery, and we're going to pull up the Atlantic Basin. Those tools. See, we went too far there. See something here. Tropical storm Hurricane Isaias right here. Actually, this is what it looks like. There we go. Again, it's the center circulation is just about here, and then again you see the high cloud tops. These are the top of thunderstorms. It's a tight closed system, and it has already made landfall in around this, again around the southern portion, northern portion of the state of the border between North Carolina and South Carolina. It has already made landfall there. But again, I just want to show you what the system looks like, so you get a gist of what we're looking at in terms of that, of the future. In fact, this is currently what it looks like as it makes landfall in North Carolina. So that's the satellite view. And lastly, I want to talk to you all in reference to the some tips and tidbits to prepare for systems like this. Again, it's always good to make sure that you have an evacuation plan, if need be, to know where you need to go, how far you need to drive, and where you need to get to evacuate from a system, any tropical system, for that matter, that poses a evacuation threat. There is no evacuations of any sort has been put in place for Hurricane Isaias. However, again, it's good to have that plan ready and prepared. Also, you want to have the needed items that you need to survive past 3 days, but we're going to really 5 to 7 days, considering that a lot of people will be losing power up and down the eastern seaboard, particularly in the path parallel to the Interstate 95 corridor, where power outages are likely and power outages are occurring as we speak. So with that being said, your flashlights you need to have batteries for your flashlights. You need to have those prepared. You need to make sure you have cash on hand. And power goes out, can't use the ATM. You need cash. You need to make sure you have all your medications that you need refilled and have those already filled, and have those in your possession, your medications. You also want to make sure that you have water. Can't express that enough. Water and any non-perishable food items, peanut butter, etc., canned goods, and etc. Those things that you can preserve and have on the ready for systems like this, so you can have nourishment past the days by, in case you have no bars. So you want to have those prepared. Also key here is taking into consideration that you don't want to travel, and travel is going to be strongly advised in these areas due to, again, the rain and the wind. Already the state of New Jersey has urged residents to stay home today. Do not venture outside if you don't have to, if not needed to be outside. Please do not travel outside. The risk of getting hurt or risk of getting into an accident is there, and is likely that it can happen. And if you have to travel, and you're traveling and you come into contact with a flooded street, flooded path in front of you, and you're driving, please turn around. Do not drown. Is the saying. We have lost a lot of people. Deaths have occurred across the country due to flooding. Flooding is the weather phenomenon that takes the most lives annually. Flooding, not per se tornadoes, not per se lightning, per se blizzards, heat waves, etc. All the other weather phenomena we experience. It's not those that are up there. But flooding is the main one. So please exercise caution if need be if traveling. Exercise extreme the common sense and caution. Again, you want to be prepared. If you have a weather radio, make sure that you have it on you and close by just in case power goes out. If you don't have weather radio in the foreseeable future, you should get one. In case power goes out, you could still receive updates in terms of the weather, in terms of any warnings, advisories, watches, any updated information that will be passed to you, disseminated through the weather radio. It's a good tool to have. Again, Hurricane Isaias has made landfall in the state of North Carolina this morning, and it will continue to make its track northward throughout these late morning hours into sunrise and proceeding into throughout the day today. And you expect, again, power outages to be extensive due to tropical storm force winds and the rain impacts across the major hubs across the I-95 corridor. Real quickly, see if I can bring one more thing up. The lightning. Oh, we're gonna bring that up. Probably not. Probably not gonna bring that up. Did want to bring up one more piece of information. If I can do that, I will. Let's go to Hurricane Central. Now we want to bring up some information here for us to look at, and mainly the storm system itself. 2222. Okay. All right. It's not coming up. Not what I wanted, but anyway, we have that. So anyway, I hope everyone stays safe. Again, if you have any questions, comments, feel free to let me know. I will be now moving a lot of my material to the online platform on Patreon. Patreon.com/NFXDaily is going to be the new home for the Eco Beloved content. More of this type of content as far as video presentation, but also other forms of content coming from Eco Beloved. And that's the site scrolling down below. It is patreon.com/NFXDaily for the updates from the Eco Beloved. You can still find me on Facebook, the Eco Beloved, my Facebook page. And you can still find me there. I will still be utilizing that platform. But I do want to create a more intimate setting with you all, the subscribers. Again, you can just subscribe to patreon.com/NFXDaily as low as $5 per month. But we have other levels as well where you get access to more and more content. Debut of new content. First, you'll be the first ones to see that. You'll be the first ones to see this type of update, etc. And also merchandise and etc. So please consider using the subscribing to the patreon.com/NFXDaily for daily content and daily updates. Much more is in store for everybody, and I'm very excited to have this platform and share this platform with some amazing people and amazing co-hosts and other content creators that will be coming down the pipe soon, God willing. Again, hope everyone has a great Tuesday. And again, if you have any comments, questions, feedback, I'm always open to it. And again, peace and blessings. Good night.